is recorded.
Okay. So this is the first meeting that I'm going to attempt to run, and hopefully I will not mess it up. So the first thing is I need to reopen the agenda, apparently. Here we go. Okay. So we just need to do a roll call. If you can do that, Ms. Taylor.
Yes, ma'am. We have present members, Mr. Foster, Mr. Fassinger, Ms. Marquez, Ms. Porter Johnson is here, Ms. Fulmer is absent, Mr. Muhammad is absent, Ms. Taylor is present, Pastor Connell is absent. We have a vacant position, and Ms. Tatanchi is present.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we have a quorum.
We have confirmed that. Before we go down that list of items, I just wanted to remind everybody that there are a number of trainings that we all have to complete as part of the Go team. I literally just finished mine today, I think. So if you have received emails, please don't ignore them because we have to get those done. And if you haven't received emails, let me know, or you can let Diane Jacoby, who's on the call, know, and I'm sure we can find a way to get them resent. You should have, there's like an account, you have to make a little account in this new system, but it's relatively painless. Okay, so action items. I think the first thing we need to do is just approve the agenda. If someone wants to move to do that.
Yep.
And does anyone second?
I second.
Okay. So the agenda is approved. And then I'm just going to skip over to C so that we can approve the previous minutes. If someone wants to, I included a link to them in the agenda if you haven't gotten a chance to see them.
I move that we approve the previous meeting minutes.
Okay. Does anybody
I second.
Okay. Okay. And thank you. And then Principal Foster, do you want to talk about the open community member seat?
Yes,
That we
currently
need to-
we have a community seat open. And the person that I would like to recommend for the board to vote on is Gail Johnson. She's the director at the Boys and Girls Club aftercare program that is up the street from the school and service our community students. And so she was asked and has agreed to, if the board so chooses, to sit in that community seat.
So I think we can have discussion if anyone has questions or wants to discuss this appointment, or we can just go ahead and move to vote on Miss Gail. I can't remember. Is her last name Johnson?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Unless anybody has any objections, I'll move to approve her.
Second.
Okay. Okay. And do we need to, Diane, do we need to take a vote, or how did that work?
You do need to take a vote.
Okay. Okay. So I
Good.
guess if you
There's a
are voting in
motion.
favor.
Yeah.
And can we just do like a visual thumbs up?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll do that. If you're voting in favor, Ms. Johnson, thumbs up. And that's everybody. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so now that we have those things out of the way, and Ms. Johnson was unable to make it today, but she did very graciously come to our 2-hour strategic planning Zoom that we had. prior to fall break. So I really appreciate her agreeing to do that. So speaking of which, I wanted us to talk about, for those of us that had attended that meeting on the 4th, sort of going over a bit about, I mean, I feel like it was a lot to take in, and there was a lot of information, but I feel like what we should do is sort of talk through like any thoughts or concerns that people have. And then I really just wanted to go over like what information or documents that we feel we need to inform the development of the plan that we can go ahead and get circulating. And then talk about whether we need to schedule some work session, at least probably one work session, which I think we probably do, and how many we think we'll need and when would be a good time to schedule those. And I can, I think I included some information about what the advisory, or sorry, the handbook said about the work sessions. But essentially like they're not subject to open, like we don't have to have them open the way that we do these meetings.
Oh, no, you do have to have them
Oh, we
open.
do. Never mind.
Yeah.
So we have to record them and all that stuff.
Mhm,
Yes.
But you don't need a quorum
But we don't need a quorum.
because,
Okay,
yeah, in a work session, you cannot take action.
that's right.
So,
Okay.
so it's meant to be like a deep dive in a single
Yes.
subject. So the public has to be able to observe. The public does not have to be able to speak. You don't take any action, so you don't have to have a quorum.
Okay. Okay. And so, yes, that would be like going through whatever the data that we receive or some of the documents that have already been developed and, you know, sort of trying to hash out, you know, as much as we can, you know, during like a concentrated time period. So does anybody that was there at the meeting want to talk about sort of your thoughts or I know that we had Ms. Harris, Assistant Principal Harris had taken down some notes of things that we thought we would need from Principal Foster in terms of like the, I have all of my notes that I took, but there was like this 1-year school improvement plan and some of the things that had already been developed that we might just be able to sort of like use to inform some of the language. I'm sorry, I'm just opening my notes just to make sure that I have everything. Does anybody else have thoughts about what they like, what we feel like we might need in advance of any sort of work session that we schedule?
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm wondering, can we just work back? Is there a deadline by which we need to have this done by? And
Yes.
just to kind of when thinking through like deadlines and when we need to get this information and get together.
Yes, I believe the deadline is in January.
Okay.
The deadline's kind of loose in
Okay.
that you have to complete it before you start talking about your budget.
Right, and the budget meetings are usually like in March, right?
No, budget meetings start in late January.
Oh, right, it has to be approved by March.
So kind of a soft date is around,
Yeah.
latest would be January 15th. It would be great if you wrap it all up by the end of the semester, but we
Yeah.
recognize that may not be possible, but
I think it's a good goal.
it's a good goal. But
Yes.
again, like Principal Foster, have you all heard when you're getting your allocations and getting that training?
No, we haven't heard that yet.
So at the latest, I would shoot for around January 15th right
Okay.
now.
Okay. And I feel like there could be, you know, whether it's the previous strategic plan, which I think we were having trouble finding the most recent version online in the training session. And then this school improvement plan, like maybe we could circulate and any other data that you think would be useful for us. Like if there's data that backs up some of the priorities from the school improvement plan that would be useful for us to have, I think, before we head into the work session. It would be great if we could get that circulated ahead of time so that people can sort of do a little bit of homework and come prepared.
That's what my overarching question was, just for some clarity based upon that 2-hour session. But is that what we were looking at during that session? What is being called the school improvement plan? Because I feel like the Go team spent days, weeks, hours doing the same exact process that we're doing on that work session, but they only did it then for 1 year, and now we're supposed to be doing it for a 5-year plan. Is that right?
Well,
But it
my
feels very
understanding is
repetitive.
the school improvement plan was not by the Go team. That was by the school
Okay.
administration.
Well,
Right.
The school improvement plan and the strategic plan are two very different plans.
Yeah.
One just comes out of the other. The strategic plan is like a 3 or 5 year plan. And the school improvement plan is a 1 year plan. It's what we're going to do. What are we pulling out of that strategic plan for this year that we're going to work on and work through? And that's how we develop our SIP, our school improvement plan for the year.
what was though, so like when we started that 2-hour session, we were looking at a vision and mission statement
That was from
was
the
a year.
that was from the
Right.
previous strategic plan from 5
Got it.
years ago.
I got that. But then Ms. Taylor provided us vision and mission statement that the Go team did last year. And
The
so
Go
like,
team didn't do
why-
that. The Go team didn't do that last year. I'm not sure where that came from.
they did work on a mission and vision statement last year.
Yeah, what happened was the mission statement was developed by the Go team some years ago. The vision statement was revised based on us trying to become an IB school. So we had to change some of the language in it. And so we changed some of the words to mirror IB. So it wasn't rewritten, it was just revised. But the mission statement was developed and approved by the community and all those different people some years ago. But the vision is the one that we revised based on becoming an IB school.
Yeah, I think the Go team just signed off on it, but we
Yeah.
didn't work to put it together.
Right.
It
And-
just sounded like it, I guess.
Yeah,
Someone who
no,
wasn't really paying attention, but like it's just, that's why I was just wondering. And then the document that Ms. Taylor provided us from Mr. Foster, didn't it have the words vision statement and mission statement on it? And they were like completely different than that 5-year one, a 5-year.
that was the
old one?
revised IB language, I think, that
Okay.
he's referring to.
Yeah.
Because
All
the one that I found online was from years past. That
Right.
was all I could find. So she had the more updated language that reflects IB.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can pull them up. I have them here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to see like what's the most recent version of all of these things and just be able to like sort of look through them. Because I think it was kind of a lot, like just to try to
Yeah, those
parse
meetings are-
whatever we
those-
could
those
in the few
meetings-
minutes we had.
That-
Yeah,
that meeting is very overwhelming for people that are just coming into, trying to do this work. And so it's a lot to sit in there and listen to all the things that you're having to do. But if you've done any work around strategic planning, it's all basically the same. You're going to look at a bunch of data to determine, what you're doing well and some areas that you can improve, and then develop a plan of action steps out of that, and timelines and resources that you're going to do to address that. So we will, although it seemed like a lot of information, once we nail it down to this is what we're looking at, it'll be very strategic in getting it all planned and worked out. They sent the the framework or the model that we're going to use, the document that we're going to use to fill in. And so I will make sure that we have all the information that we need to determine, to first do our data dig to determine where our weaknesses are and where we're pretty good at, and then begin to build out those action steps and timelines that would go along with that document. But this first, can you guys see it now? The mission. So this is the mission statement. This is the one that was developed by the GO team some years ago. Right underneath that is our most current vision statement. And this is the one that was revised, I think it was a year ago, based on us applying for IB authorization.
So one of the things that's occurring to me that would be helpful for me is, as we look at revisions, I want to understand about what are the thresholds we need to meet for IB. So as we revise, we don't inadvertently harm that process. Like, I'm sure there's some key points that are in there for the IB, that Mr. Foster, you know, and your staff knows, but that I wouldn't necessarily know. So that would be helpful to me.
And the district, based on the format that they're going to use, it's really work around the district 5 whys, and signature programming is one of those. And so we will build, we will keep IB as a focus point for our development over the next year or so. Hopefully we'll be IB by the end of this school year. That is our plan. And so our goal now is to make sure that whatever we're doing this year is leading towards that goal of becoming IB authorized by the spring. And that is a part of our strategic plan. And like you said, once we see the strategic plan, what we're doing this year to kind of focus our work and then build out subsequent years. This year is pretty much covered. Starting next year, what are we going to do? What are we going to be looking at? What are we looking to improve over that longer period of time?
So I think just to sort of keep moving for next steps, I think if Principal Foster, I'll get in touch with you about like what you can provide for us, and then we'll distribute it among everyone so that we can all have a chance to look whatever data and whatever existing document, look at whatever existing documents there are.
Okay.
And I think on our own time, you know, whenever we have a chance to sort of parse through it, and then we'll make sure that everybody has that well in advance of the work session. So speaking of the work session, I think we're going to need to schedule at least one. Our next meeting is November. Let's see. I'll look it up. Unless you know it off your top of your head, Ms. Taylor. November 3rd, because I think we were going to try to do it well in advance of the holiday break, which isn't actually a ton of time from now. So I guess my question is, like, would we rather schedule a work session between now and the 3rd, or between the 3rd and Thanksgiving?
I would say between now and the 3rd, because I think we're going to need more than one work session to get it done. I think the first one will be just around wrapping our heads around what the process is going to look like, what information we really need, and begin thinking about looking at that document and what we're going to need to fill it in. So I think I would say that we have one prior to the 3rd and then have one after the 3rd.
Okay. So that's basically next week or the week after. Are Wednesday afternoons still generally good for people?
Yes.
Okay.
How long would our work sessions last?
That's a good question.
I only asked.
How long did they last
Oh.
before, Principal Foster?
we can decide that. It depends on the group. Sometimes they can go on for hours. or we can say that we're going to spend 2 hours or an hour and a half and really stay focused on the work that we have set forth, and we'll get through it.
The only reason why I asked is because I have I have on Wednesdays for the next 6 weeks, I have create at from 5 to 7 on Wednesdays. So that's the only reason why I ask. I
Yeah.
don't mind the time. I just,
Do you mind having back-to-back Zooms on Wednesdays?
well, that's what's going to happen today. So it doesn't, it's fine. It's just I would have to get off at 5 to
Yes,
get on
yes.
that. That's all. That's why I asked.
Apologies, I got a phone call. The November 3rd date, is this for a work session?
So the November 3rd date is our next meeting.
Oh,
So we're trying to find a time between now and then to schedule a work session.
okay.
How about the 27th?
That's fine with me. If is it okay with everyone else? Is there anyone that absolutely cannot make that time?
At like 3:30 or 4?
Mhm.
I'm fine as long as if we go beyond
Not
5,
that, yeah.
somebody has to take, then if we take notes, someone else would just have to catch on, but I'm fine.
I can only do an hour. But so maybe let's aim for an hour, and then if we need to, when we need to schedule another meeting, we can continue the work, if that's okay.
Let's try for 3:30. That way Miss Taylor has a break in between her next Zoom. So we'll say the 27th at 3:30 for our work session. And Diane, I'm going to ask you, do we need to develop an agenda and post it and all that sort of thing for the work session as well? Okay. Okay. So I will.
Oh, I'm sorry, but the agenda, it's not going to be long. Again, the work session's like for a deep dive.
Yeah.
Into things. So it's going to be a work session for strategic planning. And that's going to be it. And again,
That can be the whole agenda. Okay, good.
well, no, it's the purpose of the work session.
Yes, yes.
And
exactly.
again, you don't need quorum.
We don't have
and
to
you're
be
not,
super detailed. Okay.
right. You don't need quorum and you're not going to take actions. So,
Right.
And
there's no public comment or anything like that.
Nope, no public comment, anything like that. And then at the end of the work session, you have a report that you present at your next Go Team meeting. And then that report becomes part of the official minutes of the Go Team.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So now that we've figured that out, sorry, I'm like toggling between like 100 different tabs. Okay, so next we had said we were going to discuss, and I want to leave enough time for Principal Foster to give his report and for us to have public comments. So this is unfortunately probably going to be a quick discussion, but we had talked about last school year developing 2 possible advisory committees. These were proposed again in spring semester, and they were around 2 different topics: family engagement and equitable tracking, labeling, and grading. There was a Google Doc that was created that I included a link to in the agenda that was sort of based on our discussion from last spring. And I really, we had talked about these, I will admit that we had talked about these, I think, without necessarily knowing that we were going to do the strategic plan this year, because I think a lot of us didn't realize that was coming up. So I sort of wanted to talk about, like, these are 2 potential committees that we could form. I will say, so in looking at what the handbook says about the establishment of advisory committees, if we vote to establish any committee, then the principal or his designee will be an ex officio member. There will also be a committee chair who is a Go Team member, and at least one additional member of the Go Team who will be a member. No more than 3 Go Team members can serve on the committee. And the rest of the committee can be made up of others that are not on the Go Team. So that's going to take some time commitment from at least 2 Go Team members plus the principal or his designee. And there are 2 advisory committees proposed. So my question to you all is, like, what are our feelings about establishing these committees? What sort of time frame is realistic for us to look at in terms of knowing that we have a lot of work ahead of us for the fall semester? Do we want to have a discussion about these committees now or vote on creating them now this fall? Or do we want to wait? Do we want to have a discussion about one versus the other? I mean, I'm just curious to hear from you all, like, your thoughts around this.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate everything that you've said and agree with my recollection of last year is the same. So it does feel like a lot in this moment with our existing responsibilities around the strategic plan. And then knowing the reminder that we're going to have to get into budgeting in January. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to just delay it a little bit. I think there's still really great ideas, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And part of me worries that, like, if we kick it too far, then we're going to be in the budget, and then we're going to feel like we can't do it because of the budget. But so I don't want to let go of it, and I also want to be realistic about what we have the capacity to do, and make sure we're meeting our formal responsibilities as the Go Team. So yeah, that probably isn't helpful, what I just said, basically, that I don't know. I think they're really important pieces, and I would love for us to do this, but I recognize that it's not key. It's not necessarily our key duties.
I'm gonna piggyback Sarah's potentially not helpful comment, I mean, duplicate potentially not helpful, but the fact that when we think about bringing in the community, or let's just call it the general public, I don't know about anyone else on here, I'm not gonna speak for anyone, but the whole being zoomed out is real in my life. And, like, I feel like every meeting that used to take me 30 minutes in person takes an hour and a half on Zoom. And if we're going to be trying to do these committees not in person, I feel like the effectiveness is pretty shot.
I agree. I agree with both of those sentiments. It feels like a lot at the moment. And it feels like, just from a parent and a teacher, I mean, I'm not a parent, but it feels like from parent side, there's just a lot going on. It's tough right now. And I don't know that I feel like we could give it the attention it deserves, because they are 2 extremely essential and important topics that I wouldn't want to kind of half do.
Yes.
I agree as well.
Sorry, Rochelle.
I'm sorry. I agree as well. I do believe that we should take a deeper dive into both of them, but with the totality of what we have ahead of us, and scheduling work sessions and getting all this on the calendar really before mid-January, is a little robust. And I think we need to do a deeper dive and probably delay it for the moment. Those are my thoughts.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I know I already talked. I'm just wondering, like, is there a way, if we were to, say, that we want to take this up in January. If there's enough of us that like half of us could take the lead on budget and half of us could take the lead on these initiatives. I do feel like it'll take all of us to do the strategic planning work. But is there a way that we can tag team or divide and conquer? And I'm sorry, I talked over somebody.
No, sorry, I was just going to add that we would also need to come up with a plan to recruit like a diverse set of individuals to serve on the committees outside of the Go Team members. And I do worry about people just sort of like burnout level among people right now. What I would propose is that we elect to table any decision-making until after the strategic plan is complete. And then once that strategic plan is done, then at our next meeting, we can circle back to this conversation. I hate to lose like momentum on this, but I do feel like it's potentially unrealistic for us to ask people to commit to a number of work sessions and our regular meetings, and also take the lead on chairing or serving on some of these committees at the same time. So if that sounds good to everyone, I mean, please speak up if you disagree. But otherwise, I would suggest that I will put this back on the agenda when the strategic plan is complete. Oh, Will, if you're speaking, I don't think I can hear you.
I'll motion to move this committee to January's meeting. Move this committee voting, to January's meeting.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. Okay, so next we will have Principal Foster's report. And then I'm not sure if we have anyone that's yet signed up for public comment, but then we'll have a minute for public comment at the end for anyone that has signed up.
Thank you. So the data that I'm going to go over today is the MAP data, and this is the assessment that students just took when we returned to school a couple of, maybe a little over a month ago now. And this is the information that we're using at the school level to kind of drive what we're doing in our classrooms each and every day. So just very quickly, and if you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and ask. So when we look at our school as a whole, and this is students in grades 1 through 5, all students, all subjects. So in this chart, you're looking at reading and math, all grade levels. And what you're looking at is Parkside compared to the district level. And they're rated based on the end of grade, the Georgia milestones, levels, beginning levels, developing, proficient, and distinguished. All of our goals are written around the number of students that are at the proficient and distinguished level, or proficient and above. So in any SMART goal that we write, even as we look at our strategic plan, we're going to be looking to increase the number of students at proficient or above. And you can see right now, our school performs higher than the district in both the distinguished level and the proficient level. As well as the number of students at the beginning level are lower than that of the district. And so our work lies and lives in how do we move those students in the developing beginning level into that proficient and distinguished level. So that's how we look as a school compared to the district. When we look at math, once we pull math out, you can see how our students perform against the district in the areas of math. You see the district overall math at the distinguished level is relatively low, but we are performing greater than the district at the proficient level. 25% of our students are proficient, which means 31% of our students are proficient or above, which means that a huge number of students in this 35, 36, and this 33. So we have some growth to do in the area of mathematics. When we look at reading, and we generally perform better in reading, and this is because we spend a lot of time in reading instruction, in developing strategies to address reading. And so we get this number of students, this higher number of students that are proficient or above in the areas of reading. But there are still some area of growth for our students here and our students here. Another thing to consider is that these are students that haven't, a lot of them, like 65% of them, weren't even in school for the whole year of last year. So even being at home, the virtual learning, students were, although we didn't feel like they were learning and maintaining a high level of learning in reading. When we look at our subgroups, we have four subgroups of students. Our first is our Hispanic students, and you can see how they perform. And this is in all subjects, all grades. We have some area of growth right here for our Hispanic students, moving this huge number of students that are at the developing level over into the proficient and distinguished level. So there is work to be done here as well, and we have programs in place, and you'll see those as we develop our strategic plan and look at our SIP. You can see how we are addressing those groups of students. Students of 2 or more races, you can see how they perform very well. 54% of them are at the proficient level, and then another almost 20% are at the distinguished level. So our students of multi-races are performing well. There are always room for growth for these students over here, as well as for these students over here. But as we compare to the district, we're doing really well compared to those students, same students in the district. When we look at our Black students, and this is the area of concern for all that have looked at this data, is our highest number of students, Black students, are in these two developing and beginning areas. And so we have to look at why is this the case? What is happening with our students of color? And a very low percent, although our Black students are performing better than the Black students in the district, not by much. And then we have the same level of students at the distinguished level as the district does. But we have to look at what is happening here and put strategies in place to address this huge deficiency with this huge group of students. And for our white students, again, you can see that our white students are performing in these two levels, are doing very well, 42% and 24%. So that's over like 66% of our Black students are in the highest two level. And then 25 and 9% of students are in the beginning and in the developing level. So there are some areas that we need to address right here for these students, but the majority of our white students are performing at the proficient and or distinguished level. And so one of the initiatives that the district has put into play for all schools across the district is called the intervention block. In our block is structured as it's called PUMP, Powering Up My Potential. And so it's two components of this program. There's an intervention piece and there's an enrichment piece. And so we kind of moved away from intervention block because we wanted all of our students to feel like whatever I need, wherever I am, I'm going to get it addressed during this 30 minutes, whether I'm high, in the middle, or I'm low. And so our intervention or our enrichment block, our PUMP block, is 30 minutes a day from 9:30 to 10. And it's on Monday and Tuesday, we focus on reading. On Wednesday and Thursday, we focus on math. And then Friday is a combination of reading and our math and some assessments that are happening on those days as well that will happen. In this block, students are getting a combination of digital instruction, more personalized instruction based on where they are according to the MAP data, the MAP assessments that we took. And so a digital program is generated based on their scores in that program. And they also get FaceTime with the teacher to address other learning gaps that may have happened in one of those content areas. For our enrichment piece, these students we're using the IB learner profiles to enhance that understanding of what it means to be a principal, what it means to be those different learner profiles. So that happens. We also have Ranzuli, which is a gifted digital platform that the gifted department uses. So some of our students will be doing that program as well. So, and these programs you don't get in one and you stay there for the entire year. When we take the assessment again in the winter, based on those scores, we may have students that move out of intervention into enrichment, and out of enrichment into intervention, just based on how they score and how they do on that assessment, as well as teacher recommendations and those kinds of things. But those are that is our intervention program. And that was our data based on MAP. We don't really have any state level data, and that will be the Georgia milestones. The last we have of that was 2019. So we don't have that information to help us inform our strategic plan. So the best information, the most recent information that we have is the MAP assessment. Any questions?
So there was no milestones data from the whatever percentage of students that took it last year. I guess it's not necessarily representative of everyone.
Yeah, it's not. And so we didn't get all we got was student reports. And so those students know how they did, but as a school, the kind of school level and district level report to make comparison and see where you did well, we don't have that information. If no more questions, I'm finished.
Good question. Any feedback from kids, teachers? Like, how does everyone, from doing it so far?
The POMP program.
Yeah, just whatever,
we're all because it's relatively new, and the curriculum that teachers are using, like Read 180, iReady, Do the Math, all of that materials was brand new for teachers. And so we're still really learning those systems and how to work them properly. So I'm not ready to judge its effectiveness yet because it's so new and so is all the materials. But I think just having that structured time and having that information from the MAP allows teachers to really focus on those areas where students are lacking. And the report that teachers get, it tells them exactly what it is that students can do to improve and make growth in those deficient areas.
Any teachers have thoughts or comments?
I can share my thoughts. Kindergarten does not partake in PUMP the same way that other grade levels do. So mine might not be very helpful, but it is, I will say that it is nice to have like a very carved out valid time of the day to work on just literally what does this child need, and not like trying to find pockets of the day when they're supposed to be doing something else. So that's good.
My sentiments are the same as Mr. Foster's and Ms. Fulmer. We're still learning the program, but I do think that having a structured program to support our students in the areas that they need is important. And it also gives us the opportunity, like Ms. Fulmer said, to focus on specifically what those students need, and not just focus on the intervention part, but also provide enrichment for those students who can move beyond, the program itself, and just give them. It's essentially we're giving every student what they need as best as we can.
Thank you, Principal Foster, for putting that together. That was, I think, good data to have. Ms. Taylor, I'm not sure how to tell if anyone has signed up for public comment. Do you know?
Let me check.
Okay. Sorry.
The problem I'm having is I can't see it because I'm not sure where the form actually lies. Is it in our Go Team Google
I
folder?
don't know. This was the
The original
form.
one? I know.
Yeah, this is the
So what I see is where the actual
Okay.
person would sign up for. Let me search a little bit in our Google
Well,
to see if I can find
I
that,
think we
which will tell me.
one other person on right now, which is
Miss
Michelle.
Anna.
So Michelle, did you sign up for public comment?
Comment,
She's
she said.
probably not even going to come off mute.
She said no comment.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, so I think that concludes our meeting. If anyone wants to motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. So the 27th at 3:30 will be our work session and the next time that we gather. And so I will send out an agenda for that shortly by the end of the week. And if there's any, I do feel like if there's any information that we could have ahead of that or documents, that would be great. But I'll speak with Principal Foster about what we can provide and circulate for folks to take a look at.
Hey, Jennifer, real quick,
Yes.
just on your agenda, this is just helping out the handicap like myself. Can you put the Zoom link info on there? I was certain that's what took me so long today. So,
Yes, the Zoom link will absolutely be on the agenda.
thank you.
If you also get lost, you can go to the Parkside webpage and
Ah,
click IB and click the link there. That's what I had to do. I couldn't find it either.
okay. I'm sorry.
No problem. In addition to that, Jennifer, I will create a new public comment because I can't
thank
find
you.
it. So I'll create one for us.
I appreciate that, Ms. Taylor.
No
Thank you.
problem.
All right, everyone. Have a good rest of your
Thank
Wednesday.
you.